How's it going, everybody? This is Top Driver. Hope you're having another great day, and welcome back to another video. Alright, so we are just a couple weeks away from the beginning of the new league year in the NFL, and being a New York Jets fan, it's that time of year again to answer the question, who is going to be that answer for our quarterback position? We have had this problem for nearly a decade now, and unfortunately, we are still having this problem. It's clear that Zach Wilson isn't working out, and we need that answer now. So with that being said, I'm going to give you 4 names, or should I say, the QBs that I think that we as the New York Jets should be targeting this offseason if we're going to try to make our way back into the playoffs and hopefully end what has been so far a 12-year drought, because this drought is really starting to become sick and tiring, and I want to see us be competitive and become Super Bowl contenders again right now. Now, all of these names I've basically taken off based on everything that I've seen so far in the news, or all the stats, some of their pros, as well as some of their concerns as well, and also how I think they would fit in with the culture of the New York Jets. So overall, based on what I've seen so far and all the conclusions, I think right now that these 4 names right now are probably the ones that we should be targeting. At the very top of my list, there's no doubt about it, it should be Aaron Rodgers. Now, obviously, this guy's been with the Green Bay Packers for almost his entire career. He was a protege for Brett Favre for at least 3 years and is a 3-time MVP as well. He's probably one of the best QBs to play in the modern era of the NFL. But it's safe to say that last year was not a very good season for him. Even then, they were still able to come back from what was a bad start, in which, of course, we as the Jets beat them during the early part of the season. Of course, they almost made the playoffs, unfortunately. However, they have just struggled this year without all the star weapons that they usually have at receivers, including Devontae Adams, which is now at the Las Vegas Raiders. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers now being at that age, we really don't know what's happening with him. He just recently came out of his darkness retreat, and he said that at some point he is going to make his decision in regards to his future, but there's really clear tension that he and the Packers are really separate ways right now, and that the Packers could very well trade him. And obviously, the Jets have been having very serious talks about trying to acquire Aaron Rodgers. Right now, if you look at overall strengths-wise, you really need to consider making him your top get right now. Of course, you're going to have to give up a lot of draft compensation, a whole bunch of other things, and the fact is that because of his age, he's probably only going to be there for at least 2 or 3 years or something like that. But if you really want that Super Bowl, you want to get back in the playoffs and become a Super Bowl contending team again for at least the short term, the answer to that for now is Aaron Rodgers. And I feel like that right now, considering his legacy so far, I really feel like right now that he should be the one that you should be targeting the most. The next one, in my opinion, should be Lamar Jackson. Now, obviously, the reason why I put him at number 2, I'll tell you why about number 3 in just a little bit, is because Lamar Jackson, he's probably, when he is healthy, one of the best QBs in the league. Not only can he run, he can throw it as well. And there are a lot of games where I've seen where he's done so many incredible things. There's no doubt about as to why he is the Heisman Trophy and an MVP winner in both college football and in the NFL as well. I mean, he's probably one of the best out there when he is healthy. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of consternation in regards to him and the Baltimore Ravens lately. I mean, the last 2 seasons, he's missed out on some of the final games of the season because of injury. And unfortunately, they are still having a ton of issues in regards to, his contract stuff. And as a result, as we all know, in a couple weeks, he's going to be a free agent if nothing gets sorted out anytime soon. So I feel like that he should be number 2 in this list for the Jets to get if they do not get Aaron Rodgers, because of, obviously, he is still very young. I don't think he's anywhere near 30 yet. And so because of that, he could very well be a long-term answer if you are looking for, stability and all that stuff. But at the same time, you also got to be worried about, can he stay healthy as well? And combine that with all the other distractions that are taking place with Lamar Jackson off the field as well, I really feel like that you need to make sure that you give him exactly what he wants, because really there's been a real concern in regards to the Ravens giving Lamar what they want, and because of that, that's the reason why they are in that predicament in the first place. So really, you just gotta find a way to be able to bring both sides together so that way we can come together. Either way, I really feel like that, Lamar Jackson could definitely be a long-term answer as long as you remain healthy. Obviously, you gotta be worried a bit about his injury concerns, obviously. But if Aaron Rodgers is off the table, then I really feel like that Lamar should be next. Then after that, and speaking of the Raiders, is Derek Carr. Now, the reason why I put him at number 3 is because he has been wildly inconsistent in his career in the NFL. I mean, obviously there have been years where he has been on it and he's been at his best. Of course, he nearly won the league MVP back in 2016, but then there's also been those seasons where he's just not been himself, and he's been throwing a lot of picks and really has been getting hurt a lot as well. Obviously, Derek Carr is now a free agent after the Las Vegas Raiders released him after 9 years together, and so obviously if Rodgers and Jackson end up not coming into fruition for the Jets, I feel like that Derek Carr could be as easy as a get if you are the New York Jets. obviously, because number one, he's a free agent. He's signed nobody. And so obviously, you don't even need to give up anything. And number two, just like Lamar Jackson, he too can be a long-term answer for a QB if you're looking for stability as well. Now, concern obviously, as I said before, inconsistency. There have been years where he's just not been on it, and because of that, you really gotta worry about if you're able to keep him with a very solid core group of wide receivers, which we do have with Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis, and also give them good protection on the offensive line. Another concern that you also gotta be worried about is cold weather, because he's never played a whole bunch of games in the Northeast, and usually during this time of the year, that's when things are gonna be at their coldest, and stats show it. Derek Carr doesn't play very well in the cold. But I do feel like that with enough training, obviously, I feel like that Derek Carr can be able to find his stride with the New York Jets. And so far, conversations between him and the Jets seem to be working pretty well, obviously. So, there may be something that goes on there if, we can't get Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. So really, I really put him that low on the list because, more of his inconsistency. I don't really know how well of a QB he could be, but really, he could be enough to get them back into the playoffs and at least make the Jets competitive again. So if Rodgers and Jackson were both off the table, Derek Carr, him being a free agent, if he's not signed by anybody else at that time, he's as good of a get as you can get for the New York Jets. He's not the best, but you know what? He could be the answer for long-term stability. Now, those are really the three main gets that I think that you should focus on if you're the Jets. However, I do have a wild card pick that I think you should focus on if all three of those do not work. And that wild card, in my opinion, is Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, the reason why I say that is because obviously during his time with the New England Patriots when he started out his career, he was watching Tom Brady and learning the skills that he needs to become a successful QB himself. And so when that time came for him to go to San Francisco, you really saw the best out of Jimmy Garoppolo. Whenever he was healthy and was playing the full season, he was probably one of the most consistent QBs that there was in this entire league. But things have not been bright for him there in San Francisco since. Just like Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson, he is bound to become a free agent in a couple of weeks, and unfortunately, talks have not gone well between him and the 49ers. In fact, I believe the coach of the 49ers said that, he doesn't really see a long-term future for him with San Francisco anymore. And combine that with the fact that you got Trey Lance, who was supposed to be the team's QB at the beginning of the season, but then got injured, and then Brock Purdy, who of course has taken the world by storm since he took over for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's really hard to see Jimmy Garoppolo sticking around with San Francisco anymore. Which is why, in my opinion, if you're the Jets, if the first three that I mentioned do not come together, I feel like that you really need to make a wild card move and get Jimmy Garoppolo. Because I feel like that, even though he's not named as mentioned in free agency that much anymore when it comes to comparing him with the Jets, I do feel like he could be a surprising long-term answer when it comes to giving them consistency and also some good games as well. And hopefully lead them back to maybe another AFC Championship game or even a Super Bowl as well. So although his name has not come into a line with the New York Jets recently as much as it has before, I do feel like that Jimmy Garoppolo could be also a really good target for the Jets if they really want to get back into the playoffs soon. So if Rodgers, Jackson, and Carr don't come together, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is that wild card that you need to keep an eye on. Now, the only way I would envision the Jets making that risky move of either keeping their young QBs that they have right now or drafting a QB in the NFL draft right now is they really feel like if they just can't find a veteran QB out there, which would be the worst nightmare scenario, obviously. We've seen already, Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith, who's obviously succeeding in Seattle, Sam Darnold, Josh McCown, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and now Zach Wilson. None of those picks that we've had have worked out at all. We haven't had a real stable QB since Chad Pennington. And so obviously, by this time, if none of those work, that's the worst nightmare scenario we're facing. Again, at this point, if you're a fan of the New York Jets, you're just getting sick and tired of not being in the playoffs, obviously. It's been 12 years now since we've last been in the playoffs. And of course, during that time, we were at the AFC Championship game for the second year in a row. And it feels like it was a very long time ago. Now things are as rough as ever if you're Gang Green. And unfortunately, unless we don't find an answer to the QB situation, it's only going to continue for a very long time. Now, of course, you also got to figure out your offensive line situation after that, because after the QB, the O-line, it still needs a lot of help as well. And that's been another area where the last few years we have just been horrid at. But however, we have been coming together on defense. We had one of the best defenses last season. And of course, the last year's Rookie of the Year in Sauce Gardner. And so I feel like that all the pieces, once we get all of that together, will really help us become a playoff team again. But again, we really need a QB. And Aaron Rodgers right now should be the top get. If not him or any of the other QBs that I've mentioned, I really think that we could be in big trouble heading into next season. So that's just my take on everything that's been going on with the Jets QB dilemma, which of course has been pretty much a running joke now over the last few years. But I really want to hear from you. Who do you think the Jets should get ask their answer for the QB situation. Is it Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson, or Jimmy Garoppolo, or is it another QB that I did not mention that many people have not mentioned either that you have in mind? I mean, who do you think should be the QB for the Jets if it is a veteran QB? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll be more interested in hearing your opinions about it. Anyways, that's going to do it for another video. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you'd like to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when my latest video is released. Comment below for future suggestions for all my videos, whether it's blogs, projects, or challenges, you name it. Leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to make them. As always, follow me on my social media. All the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for another video. I hope you're having another great day. As always, hope to see you all again in another video very soon. So long, everybody.